It is back. Gartner's Magic Quadrant for conversational AI platforms returns in 2025. If you're a CX leader looking to make the right purchasing decisions when it comes to your agentic AI stack, look no further than this report. Everything you need to know is right here. Now, I say that it's back. That's because Gartner ran a Magic Quadrant for conversational AI enterprise platforms in 2022 and 2023. For some reason, this year, Gartner is claiming that this is the first of its kind, and it's here for the very first time. In actual fact, this is pretty much exactly the same as the MQ from 22 and 23. It's changed its inclusion criteria ever so slightly, obviously, because agentic AI and generative AI have well and truly proliferated into the customer experience AI stack, so it's made allowances for that. There's a couple of other small tweaks in terms of the inclusion criteria, but fundamentally it's pretty much the same thing. If you're looking for a platform that is going to allow you to automate customer experience and conversations at scale, then these are the platforms that, according to Gartner, are the front runners in the industry. Up first, this is in no particular order. I'm just going to go through the quadrant. I'm going to call it out as I see it. But up first is Google. Now, Google has had a pretty good presence in the conversational AI space for a long, long time. It purchased API.ai or API.com or whatever it was way back when, turned it into Dialogflow as one of the primary platforms and frameworks used to power chatbots from 2018 onwards. It's made a lot of changes to Dialogflow. It introduced Dialogflow CX, which is a little bit more of a low-code type of environment. It's now changed again. It had Vertex AI, it had all this different technology. It's all being put into one platform now. It's called the Conversational Agents Platform, and it's Google's enterprise conversational AI stack. It's no wonder Google is a leader in Gartner's MQ. Obviously, it comes alongside Google Cloud, so you can do absolutely anything that you can dream of potentially in Google Cloud. You can store your data there, you can vectorize your data there, you can pull it into the conversational agents platform, you can inject it into conversations, you can build Retrieval Augmented Generation, and its playbooks feature is also essentially Google's answer to AI agents, or a more agentic framework. And what that means is essentially you just describe the role that you want this thing to perform, the actions that you want it to take, you provide it access to tools and APIs or data in your RAG setup, and it will manage and govern the conversation for you. You've still got the old school Dialogflow, the NLU based Dialogflow, which for me it means that now the platform is a little bit clunky. You've got playbooks, you've got data, you've got NLU, you've got flows, you've got pages. It all starts to get a little bit difficult to work with. I can understand why it's a leader, but I think that working with Google at an enterprise scale could get quite complex. The next leader is Core AI. Core AI has consistently been a leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. If I was to look down here at 2022 and 2023, Core AI has been a leader in both areas. This year, Core has gone up in its ability to execute, but it's gone slightly further down in terms of its completeness of vision. Now, I know loads of companies that use Core AI as a platform, and I can tell you that it is a bulletproof enterprise-grade platform. Core have made a load of developments into the product as well, with Gale, which is a Gen AI app builder. They've got Exo 11, I think it's on now, which is more of a low-code drag-and-drop automation builder. A whole bunch of stuff that you can do natively in Core, voice AI, any other channel automation, text, voice, messaging, you name it. Core has had a bit of a branding problem, I think, and Gartner actually allude to this in the report, which is that essentially, Core could be everything for a business. You could essentially automate your whole business on it, but because it's had a bit of a sporadic approach to some of its product development, it had isolated products for a while, which is a little bit difficult to pin down. It was Recruit Assist and Banking Assist and Retail Assist and Exo and Gale, and it was all a little bit confusing. It's started to consolidate all of that now. I think it's telling a slightly better story, but that's just one of the things that Core needs to get right, is why choose Core? What is it about Core that you specialize in? The next leader in the Magic Quadrant is Cognigy. Now, Cognigy has been a leader in every Magic Quadrant so far. 2022, 2023, 2025, it's come down a little bit in both ability to execute and completeness of vision. However, Cognigy is a bulletproof platform. It's powering the likes of Lufthansa, 10,000 conversations at a time, proven enterprise grade, proven enterprise scale, Adidas, Lidl, top flight brands using the Cognigy platform. The only thing it was really marked down on was its research into the product development side of things. I would maybe even challenge Gartner a little bit on that. Cognigy's capabilities from the agentic AI side of things are pretty much on par, if not better than, many of the vendors that are on this list already. Yes, all of the platforms on this list could do better at observability. Cognigy has actually been addressing that pretty soundly. They could all do better at testing. Cognigy's also got some good ideas and thoughts and product development coming around testing. So I don't think you can go far wrong with Cognigy. In fact, you can't. It's proven enterprises all over the world utilizing Cognigy. It's got its own voice gateway, really strong in voice, really strong in chat, really strong in multilingual. It's got the XApps capabilities as well, which essentially allows you to leverage graphical UI components in the middle of a conversation. Omni-channel conversations are possible. Solid platform. And you know, they always say that you'll never get fired for using Microsoft, and in this case, I don't think you'll ever get fired for choosing Cognigy. Obviously, Cognigy's just been acquired by NICE. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that acquisition. NICE has just been awarded the leader in the Magic Quadrant for CCaaS. Cognigy, obviously the leader in conversational AI capabilities. Those two companies coming together, that could be a pretty interesting story, and it could lead to some very interesting use cases. Joining those two critical components together could be a game changer. So let's see. The final leader and a new entrant into the leader quadrant in 2025 is Boost AI. Boost AI has been a dark horse for years, essentially. The first Magic Quadrant in 2020, what was it? It was a niche player in 2022. It then rose up to be a challenger in 2023, and now it is a leader, deservedly so, in my opinion. So Boost has a strong presence in Norway and the Nordics. It powers a whole bunch of companies in the Nordics: insurance, government, banking, highly regulated industries, and that's the sweet spot for Boost. If you've got use cases that are a little bit risky, you're in a highly regulated industry, you're doing use cases that matter, and you've got to get it right, you've got to be reliable, you've got to be able to scale as well. Boost is proving itself in those domains. It's not exclusive to those domains. You could use it for anything you want to. It's got pretty good voice capabilities. It's got good text capabilities. I also like what it's been doing recently with its generative AI incorporation, making that kind of agentic workflow type of things possible, still keeping the reliability when it comes to business rule execution. The model and the hybrid model that Boost has working there, I think is very compelling. So it's very well done to the Boost team, improving year on year, and it's been doing really well. Again, you can't really go wrong with Boost. Moving on to the challengers, the first challenger I think it's worth talking about is IBM. IBM was a leader in 2022. It went up in both its ability to execute and its completeness of vision in 2023. Now it's gone down in both metrics and it is now a challenger. And I have to say, I am not surprised. IBM Watson was the market leader for chatbot platforms in 2018 rather. Google and IBM, both of which powered pretty much all the chatbots that you come across. And IBM hasn't really changed a great deal in that time. You know, it talks a lot, it talks a good game about agentic AI, it talks a good game about generative AI, but you go into the Watson platform and you're still faced with some very similar looking stuff as you were faced with in 2018. I'm not surprised that it's come down in both. I don't suspect it will stay there. IBM obviously is a powerhouse. It's got a huge cloud division. I don't think it'll stay there, but I think it's probably rightful to be where it is now. The next challenger is DRUID AI. Now, did DRUID make it in the last Magic Quadrants? I don't actually think it did. I think this might be a new entrant. I think it is. This is a new entrant for this year's Magic Quadrant, is DRUID. Now, DRUID AI, again, is quite different. They've come at things from a different perspective. DRUID are very big on the whole concept of workflow automation. They were doing workflow automation arguably before it was fashionable. Agentic AI is now all about workflow automation. And really, in essence, conversational AI platforms, they all power workflow automation. You can't have a conversation and just have a conversation without it actually doing something, and that doing of something needs to be done efficiently and effectively. So conversational UIs are essentially front ends to business processes and workflows. DRUID were really early out in the market, or out of the gate in terms of their positioning of that. They've always been about workflow automation. It's got a fairly solid platform, fairly solid conversational AI platform. So I'm not surprised to see DRUID as a challenger, and it's yeah, really well deserved. The next challenger is Yellow AI. Now there's a lot of people, I reckon, probably in the US and certainly in the UK, possibly Europe, who might be looking at Yellow AI and thinking, who's Yellow AI? I've never heard of Yellow AI. Well, if you go to South America or you go to Asia, Yellow AI are everywhere. They are the market leaders with Gupshup in conversational automation in Asia and South America. Really strong presence on the messaging channel, WhatsApp automation, things like that, very strong. And in fact, Yellow AI were one of the first companies to incorporate generative AI back in 2020, 2021 with GPT-2. They had a feature where your NLU would automatically classify intents and automatically start adding stuff to your training data. Whether that's the right thing to do or not is debatable. But regardless, they had that really cool feature way back in 2020, 2021, and it was using what was called then transformer-based models. It's essentially large language models as we know them today. So Yellow AI have always been on the forefront in terms of innovation, really big presence in Asia and South America. Not surprising to see them in the challenges quadrant here. Moving on to the visionaries. Now, the first visionary that's worth calling out is SoundHound. SoundHound have been on a bit of a rampage. So SoundHound created essentially what was a music recognition system years ago. That's where their foray into AI came from. It was an app a bit like Shazam, where you play a song, it would recognize a song and tell you what song it was. Just so happened that technology, that voice technology, was really great at understanding language as well. And so for a long time, they had some really great proprietary voice AI technologies, and they started to make a big presence into cars and powering the voice assistants in cars and stuff like that. Really great use cases. Over time, I think what's probably happened is that area might have dried up a little bit, and so SoundHound has started to pivot into more enterprise use cases. It acquired Omilia recently, which is why I suspect it's now on the Magic Quadrant in the first place. Omilia, proven enterprise-grade conversational AI platform, does a lot of internal-based use cases like IT, HR, things like that. If you're looking for internal support use cases, Omilia is probably a good option. SoundHound acquired it, and that's given them essentially the position that they're at now. I would say though that compared to 2022, Omilia was a leader, and in 2023 it's come down in terms of ability to execute. That might be because it's really powering a lot of internal use cases like IT and HR. It doesn't have a great presence outside of that with customer-facing use cases, is my suspicion. But SoundHound have recently acquired Interactions, and Interactions does have a good presence in customer-facing use cases. So SoundHound is one to keep an eye on. Proprietary voice AI technology, acquiring Omilia, which gives it the internal use case experience and capabilities, acquiring Interactions, which gives it the public-facing customer interaction experience. So together, if it doesn't mess it up, all of those things sound quite good, so SoundHound is one to watch. Next on the visionaries, the last visionary one is Omilia. So Omilia was a leader in 2022. It came down in its its completeness of vision in 2023, and it's come down this time in its ability to execute in 2025. It's now a visionary. It was a leader in the last two Magic Quadrants. My suspicion here is that perhaps Omilia lacks a little bit in terms of its omni-channel deployment capabilities. I'm not saying it doesn't have omni-channel deployment capabilities. What it does have is an incredible strength in voice. If you are looking for something that is only voice and voice only, Omilia is a good place to start. I wouldn't count out Boost, Cognigy and Core, and I wouldn't also count out Poly AI, which I'll come to in a moment, but very strong in the voice capability side of things. I suspect that its ability to execute might have come down because of the omni-channel capabilities that probably are there, but maybe might not be as built out or as utilized or as scaled as some of the other vendors on the list. Now we move into the niche players. The niche players in this Magic Quadrant are LivePerson, which is very interesting. I mean, if you speak to, I don't mean to, again, shit on LivePerson, but you speak to all the big companies that use LivePerson's live chat, and they will tell you that it is not very nice to work with, especially when you want to integrate AI capabilities. Brilliant at live chat. If you just need live chat, LivePerson has been serving that market for decades and has been doing really, really well. I would argue that it's probably been a little bit slow to move on the AI side of things. And if you want to integrate AI capabilities into the LivePerson live chat, it's feasible, but it's not very straightforward and it's not incredibly robust. I've actually known of a couple of companies who have moved away from LivePerson to manage the chat widget, and they've gone with something else, some even building their own. I can't discount LivePerson's AI capabilities. I'm not saying it doesn't have that. It has to have that, and it also has to have customers that are using it and leveraging it, otherwise it wouldn't be on this Magic Quadrant. But LivePerson is one of those legacy companies with a great deal of a great big footprint, great deal of customers, has a really good platform to bounce off of and foundations to scale from. But I can't really speak to the capabilities of the AI side of things specifically for LivePerson. All right, next in the niche players quadrant is Avaamo. Now, Avaamo were a niche player in 2022. Were they in 2023? Yes, they were. They were a leader in 2023, which is incredibly interesting because they're back down now into the niche players category. Now, Avaamo has a really great presence in healthcare, and I think we're going to start to see this now with these vendors. They're going to start to specialize in verticals if they haven't already. Boost with regulated industries, Cognigy specializing specifically in customer service and contact center. You're going to start to see this stuff start to get specialized. Avaamo, very strong in healthcare, always has been strong in healthcare. If you're in healthcare and you're looking to do conversational AI automation, Avaamo is probably the place that you want to start. I can't speak to specifically why it's gone down in both ability to execute and completeness of vision. I would imagine it might have something to do with the fact that healthcare is a very complicated industry. You're not going to start throwing Gen AI around the place willy-nilly because it's very high risk. And so perhaps Avaamo haven't had to do quite as much product development and product enhancement to keep pace with the expectations of the wider market. I might be speaking out of turn there. If I am, please forgive me. I don't know this. I'm just making some assumptions as to why that might have happened. Next niche player, which is, I believe, new in the Magic Quadrant. Let me just double check. I think it is new. Poly AI. I have been a long-term fan of Poly AI. Poly AI came out of, I believe, Cambridge University a number of years ago, well before generative AI became popular. Very, very strong competency on the voice channel. Companies like Metro Bank and many others are utilizing Poly AI, strong automation, Landry's Hotels and Casinos, all using Poly AI. Really strong competency on the voice side of things, good methodology as well in terms of how to get you started and start to scale. They do chat and stuff like that, so I would expect that Poly AI would have the same level of capability. I can't speak for customers that are using chat because I haven't come across any of them just yet. Poly AI has always had that managed service approach as well, whereas I think every other company on this list is essentially give you the platform, you build it yourself. They might lend a hand in getting you up and running and stuff like that, but ultimately it's a platform that you use and you go and run with and scale yourself. Poly AI has always had the kind of like professional services, hands-on, white glove type of approach, which has been fine because obviously they know how to use their technology and they'll get the most out of it. It started to work around putting things in place that allow others to access it, more citizen developers or specialist developers who might want to use the platform. For me, Poly AI needs to really accelerate that if it wants to really start to scale. But who am I to tell them what to do, because they've been doing fantastic so far and they're really well deserved to be in this Magic Quadrant this year. The final vendor on the list is Sprinklr. Now, Sprinklr were a new entrant in 2023 and they were a challenger in 2023. They've come down in its ability to execute this year and a little bit down in their completeness of vision. They're now a niche player. I haven't really heard of many companies at all. I would say in the last 12 months, I've probably come across one or two that use Sprinklr's AI capabilities. I'm not saying Sprinklr doesn't have great AI capabilities. If you look at its history, it comes from the social media world, where it essentially built all of its language models and all of its AI capabilities based on the conversations happening on social media. I would argue it probably has very strong models because and a lot of proprietary stuff as well, trained on how customers actually talk, which could be invaluable. I suspect that because of its social media heritage, it's really trying to break into the CCaaS space. I'm not hearing Sprinklr winning many deals in the CCaaS space, although again, I could be wrong. And then Coming with the AI capabilities on top of that, it seems to me as though Sprinklr's challenge is finding a place to fit. It's trying to do CCAS, trying to do social, trying to do AI. It feels to me as though Sprinklr needs to really define what it's good at and really try and hammer home its positioning. But again, could be wrong. Social media, very, very strong. AI capabilities, very strong. I just don't see it coming up in many conversations in terms of CCAS and AI automation. So Gartner's honourable mentions. Firstly is Inbenta, which I would agree with. I would definitely say you've got to have Inbenta on that list. I recently had Merlin Bice, who's the CTO of Inbenta, on the podcast. We were talking about agentic RAG and some of the approaches that Inbenta has taken. Can't argue with that. Microsoft should be in the MQ. I don't understand why it's not. Normally it's because it's got too many product offerings and stuff like that. But look at Google. Google for a while had Dialogflow ES, Dialogflow CX, Playbooks and Vertex AI. It had a bunch of different products, yet it's still got a mention. Microsoft, for whatever reason, only gets an honourable mention, doesn't feature on the quadrant. But Microsoft acquired Nuance, huge capabilities. It's obviously got the Copilot Studio. It's got a bunch of AI capabilities under the hood as well. So I would think that you could build some pretty compelling stuff with Microsoft if you put your mind to it. Parloa, I would definitely agree that is a rightful honourable mention. Parloa, big in Germany, big in Europe. Pretty head screwed on in terms of its agentic AI frameworks, head screwed on in terms of its voice capabilities. Scaling, I'd say it's probably early days for Parloa. The only reason Parloa wasn't included was because of its limited geographic presence, which is fair enough. It's big in Germany, big in Europe. It needs to grow beyond those demographics to basically make it into the MQ. I would suspect that we'll see Parloa in the MQ if it happens again next year. Finally is Unifor. Unifor, massive company. They've acquired a whole bunch of companies in the past to build its AI capabilities up. Not surprising that it's mentioned here. However, I don't really hear about Unifor coming into many deals again, a bit similar to Sprinklr. I don't really come across Unifor that much, certainly not compared to all of the other companies that we've just mentioned. So that's Gartner's honourable mentions. My honourable mentions, maybe this should be like a cool vendor thing, how they used to do these cool vendor reports. My cool vendors that didn't make it on this list because probably they don't have enough revenue or they don't have enough geographic spread or they don't meet the inclusion criteria, but companies that I think you definitely should be considering as well as this lot is companies like Voiceflow. So Voiceflow has, actually now a big group of citizen developers and small, medium-sized businesses really heavily invested in the agentic AI approach. They've solid pedigree, the whole team, fantastic team, solid pedigree in the NLU sort of world. They've been there and done it, real focus on making it easy to design experiences. Definitely they do have enterprise clients, and I would strongly imagine that they will get to the point where they become a true enterprise platform. Right now, SMB, mid to large organizations, really great platform, really solid team, and doing some really good stuff. So I definitely don't discount Voiceflow. I would also put Quiq into that as well, Quiq. So I think Quiq has probably got a little bit to go in terms of its workflow automation, but I haven't seen a platform that does RAG with more integrity. Full visibility into the whole pipeline. You can change and tune all of the prompts behind the scenes. Really good methodology around prompt chaining to make sure that the whole pipeline of RAG is super controllable, super reliable, and really, really good. Some of the best Gen AI implementations I've seen in terms of RAG have come from Quiq, so I wouldn't discount Quiq. NLX, proven, enterprise grade, scalable, reliable platform powering some of the world's biggest companies. You cannot, I don't know why NLX isn't in the MQ, quite honestly. I don't know if it's a revenue thing or a geographic thing, I don't know. But you can't have a conversation about enterprise conversational AI without also having a conversation about NLX. The team at NLX have got their heads screwed right on. They know exactly what they're talking about. The direction's heading in the right place. I think it's coming along now with its Gen AI capabilities. So do not discount NLX and definitely include those. RASA is a very interesting company. I think some of its limitations is that it really seeks on-prem deployments. But if you do need an on-prem deployment, and especially if you've got a team who've got experience of building AI chatbots in the past, and you've hit limitations in other frameworks and stuff like that, you'll probably find yourself at home with RASA. It is kind of pro-code. They've got a low-code option, but it's kind of pro-code. But the approach that the team has is absolutely sound. Their CALM framework makes a hell of a lot of sense. dealing with the flexibility of language whilst maintaining reliability over your process, the whole kind of RASA approach I think makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't rule out Zoom either, to be honest. I mean, if you look at, none of the CCaaS providers have necessarily made it on here apart from Sprinklr, but Zoom I would put well up there. It's also got its own models. It's got a master of experts model. You think about Zoom, all of the recordings and meeting recordings and language data that it has, it's managed to craft its own pretty much bespoke models that do language understanding incredibly well. And when you bring in Zoom virtual agents, you also get Zoom Contact Center, you also get agent assist capabilities and Copilot. So Zoom is one of those companies which is a bit of a dark horse as well. It's got really good models, it's got a really good kind of like end-to-end story to tell. And on the CCaaS side, it's displacing some pretty big names, and once you've got that, you've got the AI capabilities, you're kind of away with it. So don't discount Zoom. Its voice capabilities recently announced as well. So chat, voice, plus your contact center automation. I would definitely not rule out Zoom if you're looking for those enterprise AI conversational automation capabilities. A couple of others I would throw in there as well. Verint. Now, you might know Verint from like workflow automation, or rather workforce management, sorry, call recording, stuff like that. Loads of contact centers have got Verint in there somewhere. It acquired Speakeasy a number of years ago, and Speakeasy is an incredibly powerful platform. It's now got this open CCaaS framework. It's got the ability through Speakeasy to orchestrate AI agents and build AI agents. And so it doesn't really talk about it that much, Verint, but it's got some pretty powerful capabilities under the hood. So I wouldn't rule those out either. A couple of others specific to voice, Gridspace and Replicant. Those two companies have proven to be able to do enterprise voice AI at scale. Again, specialists in voice, you know, your likes of Gridspace, highly customizable, dealing with the intricacies of voice. So Gridspace, very strong on the voice side of things. Replicant, very strong on the voice side of things as well. You've got, who else have you got? You've got Openstream. Openstream were on the MQ, I'm pretty sure of it. If I look back in 2022, they were a visionary. They were a visionary also in 2023. But they've got a really good approach, really great CEO, really great approach to the multimodal side of AI. And now all these models, all the GPT models, all of the Gemini models, they're all multimodal. You can send images, you can send videos, you can send audio, you can send text. Openstream was really ahead of its time when it comes to multimodal customer interactions. And so if you're looking for something with a bit more dynamism, you're looking to blend the UI of the graphical UI with the text UI or the conversational UI, Openstream has always been a little bit ahead of its time. I think the other ones, quite frankly, will get there. Cognigy and stuff like that, they've got the X apps, and there's a bunch of other capabilities from other platforms which allow you to bring in, you know, rich media and graphical user interfaces into the conversation. So it might not necessarily be as much of a differentiator as it was for Openstream, but I would probably definitely take a look at Openstream if you're looking for one of those type of platforms. And then of course you've got the new school, you know, the Sierras of the world, recently valued at $10 billion, which I think is ridiculously inflationary, but still ex-CEO of Salesforce at the helm of that one, so look out for Sierra making moves. You've got things like Bland AI and Vapi and companies like that, which I would say if you just want to get some prototypes built and you want to just see what it would be like if you had voice automation and stuff like that, there's nothing wrong with these platforms. My concern would be if you're a global insurance company and you need a platform that's going to be able to do frequently asked questions, end-to-end automation across chat, messaging, voice, and you want one platform to orchestrate that all, I think you're going to really struggle with some of these startups. I think they've got their heads screwed on in terms of how they're leveraging Gen AI. I also think perhaps their Achilles heel is that they might be a one-trick pony. They do RAG well, but that's it. Or they might have a good framework around agentic AI, but what if you're an insurance company or a government? You need a little bit more control and stability around your responses and around your workflows. Not everything needs to be end-to-end Gen AI. And so I think that these companies have got a lot to learn. I would definitely experience or experiment with them. Get your hands on them, you know, have a play around. There's another one called Chatbot Maker or Chatbot Builder or something like that. Definitely worth having a go of, getting some prototypes together. I would just be a little bit concerned about putting these into production at scale. You know, hundreds of thousands of conversations per week across multiple channels and multiple modalities, I'd have a little bit of an issue with. But I think they might get there, you know, certainly in Sierra's case, heavy investment. It's got a lot of cash to put into the product, and so who knows where it will go. So that's Gartner's Magic Quadrant for Conversational AI 2025. If you are a CX leader, a business leader, a CTO, you're looking to try and figure out where should you be investing your cash to bring in the capabilities that you need to grow and scale your conversational automation, the Magic Quadrant, to be fair, is a really good place to start.